evening's video, and I do like to sit in the front seats, but it's pouring with rain outside and it's got dark as a result, so you can't really see anything. So I'm going back into the rear seats where I normally do my talks from. And I do like to sit in the front seats so that you can see I'm actually, well, you can tell I'm in a van now anyway, but you can see what I'm doing from the where I am and all the rest of it. Anyway, never mind. What about buying a new vehicle now? What's likely to happen to prices? Today I'm going to talk largely about economics, but with motorhomes and camper vans in mind. So the price of something is depends effectively on two things. I mean, some I've said three, but they are supply and demand. The third thing is the cost of production. But when I think about it, that's really part of supply. It's not a situation, of course, it's good to say what the cost of production is, because it's not a situation like with some things where there may be, for example, if you've got 50 products, hello amigos, and you've got 100 people wanting them, then the price will actually go up until such a point where there's 50 buyers for the 50 products, but the price will keep going up. And I mean, that's how capitalism. Hello, hello. That's how the capitalist system works. So, and now what we have seen is the following. In my prediction, just to get straight to the very point, is that prices will drop. But the trouble is this: it's the hello, Nathaniel and Andrew. It's very difficult to say what the prices are. Now, the commonest question that people ask in the comment section: how much does it cost? And the answer is, well, I don't know. I mean, it depends what you want. And because the cost is hidden so much within the specification, that it's very difficult to say what the cost is. Not only that, there is a base cost, but you can't. I mean, the base cost in most countries doesn't even include the paperwork. So if you try driving without the paperwork, or try driving without delivery, how are you supposed to do that? So these are some things there are absolutely essential. Not only that, it is the extras, the options, which make the price. Indeed, they could start offering motorhomes free of charge. This is perfectly reasonable to assume that they do, but then they'll be charging you 70,000 euros for a battery, for example, or 70,000 euros for delivery, or whatever, and therefore the price is lost. But now, to come back onto the question of supply and demand, let's do first of all with demand. Demand has dropped. It's dropped for a very simple reason. The economy is worse, and there's less availability of credit. Credit is above all important at the cheaper end of the market. And there's no such thing as a cheap motorhome, of course, but those which the luxury end, if you want to buy a Morello or a Concorde or something like that, then people who buy them are they're not buying on credit at all. They've got their 500,000 just lying around somewhere under the mattress or something like that. But those who want to buy a clever vans or a Pössl or something like that nearly always buy on credit. So it is therefore it is that which is the most susceptible to changes in the economy. Now, at times of economic downturn, there is usually the biggest single pressure is on the middle range of products. So, for example, the products at the luxury end, luxury always does well, even in times of difficulty. So, if you're in the luxury market selling things like, I don't know what's it called, those funny handbags and Gucci or whatever, that will always do well, because it's such a small group of potential clients who are immune to a large extent to the ravages of the economy. At the bottom end, often the bottom end can do well if you're talking about things you buy in the supermarket, because people will, for example, stop from the mid-range products and go towards the bottom end because that's cheaper. So you buy something like Tesco's own brand or whatever it is, cans of beer at 10 pence a tin or whatever it is, instead of doing Carlsberg special brew for, I don't know how much it costs, £2 a can. So that is the way things go. Now, things as far as motorhomes are concerned and camper vans, there isn't a bottom part of the market. It's either buy it or not buy it, which is what will happen. Now, the pressure is therefore strongly towards being now from having a position when there wasn't enough vehicles on the market, there will be too many. Now, I need to point out, of course, that the demographic is such that there are more people like me of motorhome buying age coming onto the market. People who are in sort of early retirement or just retired, or they've got a cash sum from getting sacked at work or whatever. These people will sort of slightly buck the trend. Now, so that we need to bear these things into point. Now, another thing which happened as a result, last 3 years, there was that you couldn't actually negotiate with the dealers, and now that the situation's changed, the dealers couldn't get stock there, so it was a case of selling them at the maximum price. Now, as far as motorhomes are concerned, the dealer will have, depends on the vehicle and all the rest of it, but you're looking at around a margin of somewhere in the region of 18%, and so therefore often they'd be happy to sort of split that with the buyer. This is pre-2020. So that those days of negotiations or demanding some extra things for the vehicle, solar without paying or something like that, that's now become, that I think that will become more likely once more. There is also another important thing related though to supply, and that is the COVID buyers, the people who bought them during COVID times because they realized they couldn't just fly off to Spain. Now they've had their vehicles maybe as long as 3 years, which have been lying on, maybe even slightly longer, 3.5 years, and now they realize they use them twice. They don't like having to get the water. They don't understand how the cassette toilet works. It's sort of got some smelly stuff in the pipes, and I don't know how to get rid of the smell. And I don't really want to drive anywhere because it's expensive buying fuel. So these people, they will have vehicles which are available. Now, my strong suggestion, of course, this is me, I'm biased towards this type of vehicle, but I strongly suggest that people look at buying a classic motorhome. So you decide how much money you've got, and for example, if you were going to buy something like, for argument's sake, a Pössl, which it costs you maybe 65,000 euros, something like that, and for 65,000 euros you get a really good, say, 20-year-old Frankia or something like that, and that for me, that I'd much rather have that. Maybe even not even 20 years old, 15 years old. So you'd have so I'm now in the classic Hymer. I don't know if classic's the right word, 2006, but something, a Carthago or EuraMobil or something like that from this age. That to me would be, I'd rather have that than a new vehicle. But I do appreciate there are very good reasons for buying a new vehicle. For example, it could be because it's on leasing, because you need to borrow the money. If you try borrowing the money for a used vehicle, it's going to be a higher rate. You might be worried about something breaking down or something like that. Yeah, and so I understand all that. I'm just trying to make the point that that's probably a better thing. So the short and the answer from this is the following: is that I believe that prices have peaked. That they're now likely to drop. I believe this, the fact that some companies now, they have resolved their production problems. That Fiat is no longer has the waiting lists that it had, for example, even a few months ago, there aren't. I think, as a rule, it seems to me that the COVID generated problems for certain company suppliers, such as above all Truma, but others as well. They have now been resolved. Truma, for example, recently got rid of quite a large number of its staff in production. So that is, well, that's quite negative. I mean, only a year ago there were companies, major companies, maybe I shouldn't say the name, it was told me in confidence, but they would take people on So they probably had to pay them more money just to take them on, but there wasn't work for them because they couldn't get the base vehicle, so they had to send them back home. So they're on a short time or no time getting paid 80%. And so is um, this is no longer the situation. There is, however, still a shortage of labour. I need to point that one out quite clearly. So anyway, let's have a look at some of the points there, because I sort of just briefly scanned through them, and now I'd like to try and address them. Oh, but hang on just a minute before I start any by the ways. Hello, hello, hello. Jimmy says, this isn't my experience. What are you... oh, am I saying that the market has peaked? Yes, I'm suggesting that the market has peaked. Yes, I am. Andrew says he's happy with his Bürstner 2008 travel van. Thankfully bought the year before COVID. Yeah, well done, Andrew. Now, I obviously don't want to sell it. So, but the time for selling those, of course, has now passed. For getting maximum price. But I mean, obviously, you don't buy something like a motorhome to sell it. Incidentally, my advice for anything relating to investments is the following: is that you sell when you need the money. It's not okay. You can't buy something like, I don't know, gold or something like that, and then think you're going to outsmart the people who do this every day for a living. If you buy a stack of shares and you're holding on to them, waiting for the market to uptake, I would suggest that that is not a very wise policy. You sell them when you need the cash. So you treat things like this, investments, as you would do cash, for that reason, unless of course you happen to own a coal mine or something like that, then you would, but for most people don't actually own things like that. Okay, Philip writes, been looking at local deals around surrounding Birmingham, and plenty of UK builds, Elders, Swift, etc. available, but very limited, non-existent on new non-UK builds such as Adria, Malibu and Rapido. Yeah, now in the UK there are, however, specific circumstances, and this is due to the difficulties with trade to a large extent. The fact of the matter is that most suppliers of just about anything would rather actually supply to within the European Union, and this has to be, I think this has to be understood. And I do appreciate, though, if you're a Carthago dealer in the United Kingdom, then you're going to want to continue with Carthago. You won't be sort of going over to selling Elders or something like that. Not only that, of course, Elders, the parts to a large extent, it may be put together in Dells Lane, from whence I come, but it is not. They're using things from, you know, Truma boilers and Fiat chassis and all the other stuff which is coming largely from the European Union. But I do appreciate the difference in the circumstances in that kingdom. The thing is, with motorhomes, it's such a specific area. I don't really think it doesn't make that much of a difference. But where it does make a difference is when if you go trying to buy things like fresh fruit and things of that nature, which now in the UK are much more difficult, owing to the political events of which you know about. Yeah, Jimmy says about high inflation, and yeah, sure, high inflation has a great deal to do with it. I mean, okay, here in Poland, where I am now, inflation is, I mean, I find the prices quite shocking. But I've got to say this as well. I mean, the time when I was in the UK recently, been there twice this year, and I found the prices to be, I mean, the inflation really is bad. In the United Kingdom, I personally think it's due to economic mismanagement, but that's my political opinion. So Morgan says Hymer put the price of their base vehicles up yesterday approximately 3.5%. So some vehicle prices are still going up. Yeah, okay. I accept that, but what I'm going to suggest is that if we're not near to peaking, then we're sorry. If we haven't actually peaked, then we're close. Then we're close to it. But that's a very good point, Morgan. TC. Sorry, I haven't actually been officially informed that is the case. I need to point out as well. TC writes, what is the profit margin? Okay, profit is a very difficult word to define in most cases. Margin is a far easier word to define. So, what are you saying? So, profit at what level and for whom? Because if you're taking the profit for the builder, for example, then you can't. There's no that has to. There isn't a word such as margin. The profit has to be decided over the entire range. So if you make a profit of 200x and you produce 100 vehicles, does that mean to say that your profit is 2 per vehicle? The margin for dealers, which is what I was referring to, is usually it's 18%. For higher range products, it's slightly more because the costs in making sales are larger. That is approximate. That's approximate. Of course, the dealer that 18% just doesn't go into the dealer's pocket. The dealer's got stacks of costs anyway. Not only the logical ones, which you think you've got to keep the people have got to be there. They've got to be trained. They've got to be. You've got to have the space there as well to actually hold stock in, to actually show people, which you have to pay for, incidentally, and. There's another problem as well I'd like to mention for dealers, and this has come back to me several times. Hymer wants to do sort of sales via the internet. That's all very well for this telephone I just bought. This is the first time I've used it. It just delivered. It came today. But when I could sort of go onto YouTube and look up other people what they say about the phone, and then I could read all the bits about it. But with a motorhome, what they're doing is they're going to dealers. The dealer's spending an hour of time with them or whatever it is, or maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, showing how everything works, and then they're wanting to buy from a buy off online via Hymer. And I really feel that the idea of buying motorhomes online, to me, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I just don't. I can't see the logic to it. And the thing is, this is going to wind up the dealers so much that they're just going to stop stocking any company that tries doing that type of thing. The dealer as well, bear in mind, has got to deal with all the problems, because when you buy a motorhome, I don't think a motorhome has ever been sold in history that there wasn't something wrong with it when it was driven out the garage, and so somebody has to fix these things which are in it, and that is the problem. And if you're going to start buying it online, who's going to do it? So I can't see that at all. So that's one of the things. Bear in mind, okay, that's what if the dealer's taking, say, 18%, you do a deal with them. The dealer's taking a 10%. So the vehicle costs, say, for argument's sake, 70,000. So that's 7,000. Obviously there's VAT and all the rest of it. But Paul, approximately, that dealer's just made 7,000 out of me. But who's going to be doing all this work when you're taking the thing back and all the rest of it? So that's what it's for. Anyway, sorry, I haven't answered the question on the profit margin. But you're going to have to define what you mean by it, so then I can actually give an answer. So I know I've given you an answer, like sort of a business person's answer, which is not exactly straight, but I'm trying. It's not that clear. Profit is very difficult, and there's many different types of interpreting profit. Jimmy writes, this isn't my experience. I was told everything's difficult to get a hold of. I appreciate what you're saying, cheaper abroad, but is this a consequence of Brexit? Yes, it is. It is. Brexit is to a large extent. I mean, it stands to reason. I mean, if you're a producer of something and you've got 100 of them to sell, now where are you going to sell them to? When you sell them easier. That's how capitalism works. And mind you, if somebody in for example, the United Kingdom sort of offers you the cash first, and then you might want to do that. But I really think that these difficulties which is put on as a result of Brexit, which was totally foreseeable. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. It was all obvious. And yes, this is a result. I think in the case like this of Brexit. Thing is, though, you have to bear in mind though that the motorhome market is absolutely nothing when you compare it to other things such as the automobile market or in general, or other things, the food industry. These are industries which have been really hit by Brexit, and I'm pretty certain the people who promoted Brexit were absolutely aware of it. I did do videos on this subject before the vote happened, so um, uh, and I published stuff on it, how ridiculous it was. But anyway, it's the thing. I think the important thing now is to reverse it rather than anything else, before there's even more suffering, if it proves possible to reverse it. That is. Anyway, so my opinion is this: if you want a new vehicle for you, look for one which is just a bit used. I do appreciate you might get the color you want and all the rest of it, but there are more and more vehicles becoming on the market thanks to the COVID people who bought during the COVID period. So always look. I think it's best always to get a slightly used anything. No, maybe not anything, but certainly vehicle. That's the first place to look. Just used. What we will see next month, in 3.5 weeks' time, there will be caravan salon, and so we'll see what the prices are like there. Bear in mind, of course, as well, though, that because of inflation, that the manufacturers themselves have to put up with this inflation, and if food prices are going up, then their workers are going to want more cash, particularly at a time of when there's still a shortage of labor, supply and demand. You can't find the workers to do it, so therefore they need the workers you've got to look after. You've got to give them more money, you've got to give them more perks, and if you give them more perks such as holidays, then you're going to need more staff to cover them when they're on holiday. So it's that knocks the prices up even more. So well, anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. I might change my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind, of course, on anything which of this, and shall be doing I shall be doing stuff from Caravan Salon and talking about this then in 3.5 weeks' time. Anyway, perhaps I ought to say I did actually I have an economic background in a way, though I didn't study at university because I studied languages. But I was the publisher of a business publication. I actually worked as an advisor as well. And I even did the bank's newsletter and on economic trends. That was 20 years ago nearly now, but anyway, I did so I do have some background in these things. Thanks very much for watching, and all the best from me in Poland. Haven't decided what tomorrow's video is going to be yet, but I'm sure I'll think of something. It might be a vehicle, it might not. So bye for now.